How concerned are you about the security threats to Americans abroad? And is the U.S. prepared to do an evacuation if needed?
We're always concerned. We don't want escalation in the region. That would be a threat to our troops and our embassies. As I understand, talking to the State Department, the embassy is in good shape right now in Israel.
In Israel.
Yeah, and I think the fact of the matter is, as Mr. Kirby mentioned, is 99% of these rockets and drones were shot down.
Right.
Pretty impressive display of force, showing of force in collaboration with the United States, Jordan, and other allies. And it also showed us Iran's not 10 feet tall.
Mm-hmm. Not 10 feet tall militarily. Fair assessment there. So I'm sure then you don't agree with some of your Republican colleagues who are saying that this necessitates any kind of military action against Iran?
Well, I do think that this is a choice for Israel. We cannot have daylight between us. We had some daylight prior to this when we were joined with them. And I know Gantz came out with a statement saying we want to be joined with our regional partners.
One of the war cabinet members
Yes.
who is more centrist than Prime Minister Netanyahu.
I think a proportionate response here. I think one option would be to take out the facilities where these drones and rockets came from and also destroy the manufacturing facilities that build the drones and rockets, not just for Israel's sake, but also for Ukraine's sake, because these rockets and these drones are being bought by Russia and they're killing Ukrainians every day. What happened in Israel last night happens in Ukraine every night.
And Ukraine's ambassador to the United States, Oksana Markarova, was tweeting about that point. She called it an axis of evil between Russia, Iran, and North Korea. But the Speaker of the House doesn't seem to share, and we've talked about this before, the sense of emergency that you have. Why is there still not a date for a vote on Ukraine? I did see the statement from Steve Scalise, the whip, saying that there should be a consideration of legislation to support Israel. But what does that mean? Is that a vote on the National Security Supplemental?
That is a speaker determination. I'll be speaking, talking to him this evening with other national security people and chairs. I talked to the ambassador, our ambassador to Ukraine as well. She said the situation is dire. You know, Kharkiv could implode any day now. That's 2 million people. And the power grid is under threat right now. If the power grid goes out in Ukraine altogether, we don't have time on our side here, Margaret. We have to get this done. I would implore, what I need to educate my colleagues, they're all tied together.
Yes.
I mean, Iran is selling this stuff to Russia. Guess who's buying Iran's energy? China. And you know why? Because we lifted or waived the sanctions that we had, this administration, on the drones and the missiles and on the energy. This is giving them $100 billion in cash to fund their terror operations. And that's why we're seeing this.
Okay, but you still don't have a commitment from the Republican Speaker of the House to vote on what you say is a Republican priority. That has to drive you mad here. Do you expect to get an answer when you talk to the Speaker tonight?
I have a commitment that it will come to the floor. My preference is
when?
This week.
Your preference, but still an open question. I mean, the Speaker of the House went down to Mar-a-Lago this week, stood beside Donald Trump, and we have not heard the Republican frontrunner in any way endorse the package that you were saying there are Republican votes to pass.
He did say he supports this idea of a loan program. 80% of the funding goes into...
But that's not in the National Security Supplemental.
That would be added in our bill, right? In addition, repo, my statute, to get into the Russian sovereign assets to help pay for this. Mm-hmm. In addition, 80 billion of this money, 80%, I should say, of the Ukraine funding goes into our defense industrial base to replenish and modernize our stockpile in the United States. These are all compelling arguments that the Senate bill doesn't have.